Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing how inadvertently passengers love to piss off taxi drivers and include the one cardinal sin that you must never commit inside of a London taxi. Let's get started. Starting a conversation, but not finishing it. I will honour all attempts at a conversation, whether that's, is this cab electric, mate? What football team do you support? Or the old classic, what time are you working till? Because I know that's not what the conversation is actually about. These are just kind of opening gambits just to open up into a whole world of other conversational realms. But what does suck the most is when you have someone in the back who's trying to multitask, they'll throw you an awesome question, you reply, and there's silence, nothing. You look down and you can see that they're very clearly just on their mobile phone. If you don't want to have a conversation, just be in your own silence, play on your phone. I don't care, because I get to just be up front, driving, listening to the radio, whatever. It's a win-win for both of us, but don't try and half-arse it. It's like going to dinner with a friend and they're absent-mindedly on their phone whilst you're trying to get deep with conversation. That's the whole reason why you go for dinner, is because you want to spend time with that person. Bad communication doesn't just happen in the cab, but also on the street. I cannot fathom just how many times I've had to kind of mentally, telepathically communicate with someone on the street to get them in my cab, i.e. they don't know that they have to hail a taxi by sticking their arm up in the air or giving some obvious sign to a driver. This can range in loads of different ways, but starting from the pro level, whereby they keep their hand up for as long as possible to ensure that driver has definitely seen it, and only when they know the driver's seen it, they put their hand down. To the little, I don't know, it's like they're trying to catch a frisbee or something. To the people who don't even put a hand up altogether. And you think, how are you ever going to stop me? If it's been a really slow day, I need that job. Like, I will move heaven and earth to ensure I get that job. Because money. Because I go to work to earn money, so I'm not broke. So I don't have to live under the bridge at Finsbury Park. If it's particularly busy, it's fearful that if I miss it, the driver behind will get it, or that I have to stop in a really quite annoying way that may inconvenience other road users. It's just a lot nicer and neater if there's a clear hand and I have so much time to think about how I'm going to pull over the cab, check all my mirrors and who's around me, rather than a real panicked kind of stop because of someone who can't put their hand up properly.
Put your hands up.
The caveat to all these points is that I'm incredibly hard to piss off. I'm really good at biting my tongue and just going, meh, person didn't really mean a lot by that. They're not really out to hurt me. Us cabbies are tested on our temperament as part of the knowledge. Now you might be thinking these problems seem a bit small and insignificant, but it's a bit like life. You know, fears and doubts that might seem small and insignificant often creep up, and that's why it's really important to have someone who can ensure that you're heard. That's where the paid partnership of today's video comes in, which is of course BetterHelp. BetterHelp provide accessible and effective therapy that can be accessed on your phone, tablet and laptop. To get started, just go to betterhelp.com/Tom Hutley and fill out the short questionnaire. This ensures that you get matched with a therapist who is suited to your individual needs. You can also select Tom the Taxi Driver from the drop-down options when you go to sign up. So no matter whether this is your first time trying therapy or you've tried more traditional methods in the past, BetterHelp is a great way to do it in a more effective manner. I'm a big believer of any area in life with lack of experience, you should really enlist the help of professionals. If you go to the gym, if you don't know how to lift weights, personal trainer, don't know how to tackle mental health and emotions, then of course a therapist is going to be the best way to go. We know this is an important subject matter. Just look at the NHS, TfL, all of them espouse the benefits of good mental well-being, and that's where an effective platform like BetterHelp can help you out. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Driver, can you go a bit faster, mate? Driver, I've got a train to catch. No one in the 6 years that I've been driving a taxi has ever said, driver, can you go a little bit slower? Other than one person who had a bit of a bad back and said, just be easy on the speed bumps. For the most part, everyone is running late. Everyone wants you to go a little bit faster. Something I like to abide by is the old Navy SEAL motto, which is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. If you're running late, there's not a great deal that I can do about that. And this in itself doesn't get my back up. It's more how the passenger requests it. Oh, you had loads of time to get through that light. Oh, why don't you take a right here? I can't take a right here. Oh, why don't you do a U-turn here? I can't do a U-turn here. It's like they're looking at me like I want to extract as much time out of this journey as possible. But believe me, I want to get my passengers to their destination as soon as possible. Do you know why? Because if they're annoying like that, I get rid of them quicker. The real problem with this is when people are really talking down to you like you're an object. And that's never fun in any line of work. Or because you're paying a little bit more to be in a taxi, it's the idea that, I'm delegating my problems away. I'm paying a little bit more and hopefully this headache of being late will go away. No, if you're late, you're late. There's not much I can do about that. And more often than not, it's the ones who are the most late that are the most stressed about it, that do not reciprocate any kind of favours if you do manage to get them there on time a little bit quicker. You know, I had one fairly recently, a gentleman who wanted to go to Alford Street in Mayfair, and even when he got in, he didn't actually know what the address was. And then on the final part, as I'm going to drop the gentleman off, I'm coming up Chesterfield Hill, about to get my left into South Street, and as I commit to the left, he says, whoa, 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 I want to go right there. I said, what? You want to go to Farm Street? He said, no, I want Alford Street. That's where I'm getting my hair cut. I said, well, why do you want me to go right then? He's like, well, it's down there, isn't it? I'm like, no, leave it to me. It's the distrust of my knowledge and the fact that he's late and he's trying to put it onto me. Just don't do it. Just respect the driver. If you're late, that's your problem, no one else's. When passengers orate the route to you. Now this one is really cute. You know exactly where the passenger's going. They've told you at the window. You know how you're going to drop it, etc. You've done this whole really complicated drive all across London, and the last 2 or 3 streets, they can't help but interject and say, oh, left here, driver, right here, driver, left here. And you're like, oh, thanks, mate. I'd have really struggled about those last 3 streets. And I do get it, because sometimes if you go into like a really deep, dark, complicated housing estate, or like a series of like Victorian streets, yeah, it can get a little bit confusing. But doing it in fairly bread and butter areas, it's not really necessary. The one that really annoys me is when people orate the route from start to finish. This one's brilliant. So this usually comes about by someone who is a bit of a perfectionist, a control freak. They'll tell you the entire route the whole way there. But luckily, because this doesn't happen that often, and usually the people that do it are either ridiculously eccentric or a little bit cuckoo, you just go, yeah, whatever. Yes, no sir, 3 bags full. You're sort of doing it with a smile on your face because you're like, oh, I wouldn't have done that one. Oh, we could have skipped a light if we'd done that one. It's cute more than a real annoyance. Using Google in the back of the taxi. Now, I'll come clean on this. When I've been in some foreign countries, I've used Google just to ensure that the driver's going roughly in the right direction. He hasn't got to follow it exactly because he might have his own routes, might be able to use certain routes being a taxi driver, might just be completely flouting the law entirely. Who knows? Sometimes you hear the Google go off. Starting route. Turn left onto Euston Road. Kind of funny, and for most passengers it's a little bit embarrassing when they're like trying to like turn the volume down. They're like, oh crap, I didn't mean to do that. But it's when people believe that either Google or Waze is going to be completely gospel. Driver, Google's saying we should go this way. Oh, maybe we should go this way. Yes, to inform my knowledge, but not to be completely guided by it. You know, I've had examples where the park will be closed, according to Google, but I can drive through it because it's actually open. The worst case scenario is when someone is glued to it, and when you are deviating off of what they've got on their Google, they think that you're trying to rob them blind and that Google is therefore gospel, that you're doing the wrong thing. There's lots of maneuvers and streets that are available to me as a taxi driver that will not show up on Google. For instance, driving the whole length of Oxford Street to where we cross over Oxford Circus, that's a manoeuvre only for taxis, buses and cycles. Driving through the Chelsea Harbour, well, Hackney carriage drivers and permit holders only. So there's plenty of options that will never show up on Google Maps. It'd be like storming into a kitchen in a restaurant and saying, but chef, the recipe book says that you need 2 tablespoons of sugar. I don't think you can actually cook. Feel free to add your observations. Driver, Kensington High Street was closed earlier. do you know about this? Oh, I didn't realise that. Thank you so much. And these are the kind of the tidbits that I want from a passenger, but not uninformed third-hand knowledge from anywhere. And something else that certainly doesn't help the situation, when a passenger doubts your knowledge. In central London, us cabbies are unbeatable. We'll have done, just through years of hard exposure, every kind of permutation, ideation of a route. London cab drivers didn't just accidentally earn their badge. They pretty much had to put their life on hold for whatever that period of time was they were doing the knowledge. But for someone to say, you don't know what you're doing, mate, where did you get your badge from? I'm going to report you, etc., is pretty much insulting the fact that you ever took the time to do that. Think about the greatest accolade or achievement you've ever had in your entire life and someone denying its own existence. Yeah, I've had someone do that to me. Every London cabbie would have been independently assessed from around a dozen different examiners who each said, yep, that's a tick from me. And added to the fact that once I got my badge, I'm out in London every single day solidifying this knowledge, making it even stronger from a day-to-day driving perspective. I remember in my first year of driving, I took a European family from kind of the Oxford Street area about 11 o'clock at night to Shepherd's Bush. I remember that the Bayswater Road was shut. Now, of course, that route is pretty much a straight line. Maybe I could have gone up on the Westway, whatever. That road closure only came in later on at night. It threw me. Like, it was the first kind of big road closure of my career where I'd had to sort of wiggle through like Tyburnia and stuff to try and get back on the line to make the route work. I remember it coming to about £35 or so, 35, 40 pounds. I remember it was only when I dropped them off, they were absolutely livid. They were saying to me that, oh, we got this same taxi from here into London earlier, it was only £30, you're trying to rip us off. I felt really like attacked, like I was doing my utmost best to get them to the destination. I had to tell them, about, the fact I've done 3 years of training on the knowledge, that I showed them on the map, like exactly what I was doing, why I was doing it, but it meant nothing. They just saw the meter price and just thought, I'm here to be a rip-off merchant. I was here just to extract money from them. When if they clearly would have seen the Bayswater Road was closed. And I remember feeling really low at the time because it really got to me. And now I won't let any passenger talk to me like that. I don't know how much harder I can work at this. I spent almost 3 years on the knowledge, driving for 6 years. I obsess and geek out about London, and you've probably seen from some of the videos I've made on this channel about the different lengths I go to try and explore and learn new parts of London, from driving to food to crazy challenges across the capital. I'm constantly learning, and for anyone to shut me down in that manner, no. This is the one thing that I've gone harder at than anything else in life. That is the cardinal sin, what you must never do to a London cabbie. Commenting on the route after it's actually happened. Let's go from the RAC to the Mandarin Hotel. Now, assuming that Piccadilly is proper clear, do you take the Palace roads, or do you go up St James's Street, left Piccadilly and go that way? Well, truth be told, there's not a lot in it, but you'll be surprised at the amount of passengers I've had on that on a similar route to this, they'll say, oh driver, you should have gone to Palace roads. Oh driver, you should have gone Piccadilly. I'm not a mind reader. I have no issues whatsoever if at the very beginning of the route you want to tell me how you want to drive it. I'd go as far as say that most London cab drivers love it when the passengers give us their desired route at the beginning, because it removes the guesswork of me thinking, oh, what does the passenger want? Do they want to go via the park? Do they want to go via Piccadilly? Should I use a bridge? Should I use 2 bridges? I might have not been in that exact location at that time to ascertain the best kind of route. Whereas if they're doing it back to their house every day, they are going to be the experts of that route. So I'd welcome those kind of suggestions. The biggest problem is just commenting on the route after it's happened, and they say, oh, that would have been the better route. No, highly likely that both would have just been as bad as each other. There would have been no ideal route here, or this route might have been the better one 10 minutes ago, now this is the better one. Commenting on it afterwards does nothing to help the fact. Haggling the meter, but specifically, in town. If you're going out to the suburbs or beyond my usual remit of London, crack on. Like, that's perfect, because it will be bloody expensive. So I don't mind if you say, hey driver, really down on my luck, how much do you reckon we could come to an agreement on to get me to Epsom? Just a couple of weeks ago, height of the 10 o'clock West End, family comes over to the cab. How much is it to the Westminster Park Plaza? About 15 to 18 pounds. You know, most people just want a range. They just don't want to get in and find the meter goes crazy. He comes back to me and he says, 12 pounds. I said, no, it's around 15 to 18 pounds. I turn that meter on and that's what we're gonna go with. 15 pounds. No, you're not getting the point. Alas, I drive on. As I've said loads of times before on this channel, Transport for London are the governors of the price of that meter. When I say the job will be 15 to 18 pounds and the job ends up being 12 pounds, the customer never goes, oh, do you want the extra money that you quoted? Oh, we thought it was going to be 15 pounds. No, they gleefully just pay 12 pounds. I think I speak for most London cabbies in that the meter is not up for negotiation within town. The whole idea behind the meter is so I don't turn around and say, oh yeah, Westminster Park Plaza from Shaftesbury Avenue, 30 quid, mate. Leaving rubbish in the back of the taxi. The interior of this taxi is spotless whenever I start a shift. It's the reason why I like having carpet and upholstered seats. It generally has a nicer, homelier, clean feel about this taxi. But so annoying and frustrating when people leave their rubbish in the back of a cab. Like, this is my own personal vehicle. I once had a guy who left a newspaper in the back, right, a Metro, and he got out. I questioned him on it, and I said, mate, what are you doing with this paper? And he said, oh, I thought I'd leave it in there for the next passenger. Like I'm some sort of roving, moving library. What's kind of annoying above else is the fact that I don't always get to see straight in the back, or one passenger jumps out, another one jumps straight in, is that if there's rubbish in the back, it just looks bad on me. Like, I like having a clean cab, like that exterior is clean, the interior is clean. Why does that give invitation for people to leave their rubbish behind? Have you ever inadvertently pissed off a taxi driver? Well, I'd be interested to know. And if you want to see me driving in a completely zen-like state, well, I'd recommend checking out one of my videos over here.